Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the Brand Zone here where you get all of your marketing, selling, scaling advice. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Andy O'Neill. How's it going, Andy?
Very good. Thanks for having me on.
Hey man, I appreciate you coming on the show. Andy is a automation guy. He's a freelancer. So I
Mhm.
want to dive deep into that because I know a lot of tasks that are done online is easily done with automation, different tools out there. So I know you do e-commerce. Is that correct? With automation
That's
primarily?
true. That's true.
Okay. So I want to dive deep into that, man, and pick your brain. And I hope you all have your pen and paper ready because you're about to get some jewels this evening. So what made you focus your business on automation and freelancing?
Well, I've done more than automation over the years. Built WordPress websites since 2012, and I built custom databases since 2015. But there's a huge amount of competition, amount of big boys out there. So it's what I find is it's kind of hard to stand out as a solo freelancer. But as these automation platforms, people are really familiar with Zapier. Integromat is another one that I use primarily. As those are really maturing and coming of age, they can deliver a huge value for businesses. And, that's where I've decided to kind of focus my energy because I'm not seeing a lot of people diving into this yet. I think it's coming. I think it's coming big. But I think I like to kind of be on the early side of things. And so, a lot of these platforms like Integromat and Zapier, they don't require coding, and a lot of people dive in and they can do it themselves. These are meant to be no code platforms where you can drag and drop and do things. But where I find where I can help most people the best is, they have people on their team, or they don't have people on their team that can use these tools. It does kind of take an understanding of technology and processes to do that, or they're teams that are too small, or maybe they're growing too fast and they're like, we don't have time for this, we just need somebody to do it. So that's where I kind of find the where I focus with my clients on these kind of tools.
Awesome. So when you take over an account, do you primarily focus on automation, or do you do like you said, you had a history in WordPress? Do you go ahead and help them with their website and things like that as well? Or do you focus primarily on the marketing aspect of
So
things?
it kind of depends where they're at. If they have a WordPress website and they're wanting to automate data from that, absolutely, I'll go in and I'll hook into their existing site and run the automations. Same with databases. I work with NAC and Salesforce and HubSpot. And I mean, there's several out there. If they already have that existing and they want to automate that, we could certainly connect into that. And so that's kind of where my background with using those kind of tools with automation kind of comes in handy. Is if they already have them, we can use what they've got and start where they're at.
Awesome. And I kind of want to break this down for the audience, if you can. We probably get very, I guess the word is rudimentary. Really figure out the foundations of automation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is automation for those listeners out there that don't really understand what?
So there's a lot of businesses that use cloud-based tools. So if you go to the website and you sign into email, or if you use something like MailChimp or Constant Contact to send emails, maybe you sign into QuickBooks or FreshBooks if you're a freelancer to do your invoicing, like those online apps. And what happens is a business will use this one and this one and this one and this one. And what they end up doing a lot of times is I'll log into one, I'll add information there. Then I'll log into the next one and I'll add information there. Then I'll log into the third one and I'll add the person to our email list or whatever it is. What automation does is it connects all of those apps together into a workflow. So for example, if you have an e-commerce store and you sell something, and so a lot of my e-commerce store customers, they want to generate a paid invoice for every order that comes in. That way they can go look in their reports in QuickBooks and they can see, the income that's come in. So what will happen is somebody will go to your store, they'll buy something, and then that invoice is automatically created in QuickBooks. It's automatically marked as paid. And then that customer can be added to HubSpot or MailChimp or whatever other databases you have. And that can happen in a matter of, 10 to 12 seconds rather than going and doing those pieces manually. And
Mm.
that's what we're really trying to do is take out the human error and the manual data entry of going to QuickBooks, going to HubSpot, going to MailChimp, like doing all this stuff manually. And so we just connect those into an automated flow.
And that sounds powerful. That just made me smile on the inside, thinking being able to make everything that easy, being able to scale a business or processes. It sounds complicated because each of those platforms do different things. Like QuickBooks,
Mm-hmm.
It's meant for invoicing, reporting, and any other apps out there. MailChimp, that's meant for email automation or things like that. And being able to putting all those things together and having it automated, just your personal assistant that works 24/7, that just sounds like a winner to me.
It
So
is.
yeah. So I want to dig a little more deeper into this. So what would you say for someone, it's COVID-19 going on, things are slowing down, you know, finances aren't really there, the economy's slowing down now. Would it be affordable for someone to be able to set up these automations?
So it kind of depends. So I'm going to answer that by telling a story. And recently we had a tree trimmer come out to our house, and the tree was hanging over the house, and we needed somebody to climb up there and cut it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was Nick was the owner of the tree company. So he came out, and then he had a girl named Allison in his office. Now, these are fictitious names, but it's a real story. So Nick comes out, he looks at the tree, and he goes, okay, yeah, I'll have Allison send you an invoice. So he calls Allison, and it was like, a few hours went by, and we got our estimate for cutting the tree. And then we had to call back to the office and, kind of play phone tag to get the right time we wanted and what day they were going to come out. And then the day arrived, and they came out, and they did an awesome job trimming the tree. And then Nick calls Allison again and says, okay, send them an invoice. And so we didn't get the invoice like till the next day. So she had to manually create that. And then we had to call them back to do a credit card over the phone, or we could have mailed a check, but who mails checks today?
Yeah.
So we had to call back and do a credit card over the phone. So if you're wired like me, this story drives you crazy. And this is why Allison's back at the office doing all this manual stuff and sending things out. And it's inefficient for a small business. So let me retell this story. Let's pretend like they were a client of mine, and I waved my magic wand over their business. This is how that story would go. Nick would come out and look at our tree, and he would pull out his smartphone. He would pull up a page, and he'd type in some information, and he'd hit submit. And within about 10 seconds, I would have an estimate in my inbox, and I would have a link to go schedule when I wanted this work done. Allison hasn't touched anything. So we'd go schedule when we wanted them to come out, what day worked for us, and that kind of thing. They'd come out and do the job. He'd pull out his smartphone again and say, done. And we'd immediately get an invoice in my inbox with a link to pay online. Allison's doing other things at this point. Now, I'll be clear. I don't want Allison to lose her job. Whoever's Allison, whoever your Allison is in your office doing this work, I don't want her to lose her job. But think about what she could be spending time on if she's not sending invoices, sending estimates, taking payments over the phone. Like all this stuff could be automated really easily and make it a really slick solution that serves your customers better, so they're not waiting on stuff. And it refocuses Allison's time on stuff only she can do, only humans can do. And that typically is critical thinking tasks or creative tasks. I mean, imagine if Allison could focus on finding new clients or doing HR stuff, or, the things that have to be done by a human, and all this other stuff could go away. So if a small business has that Allison in their office that are doing these kind of things manually, then yes, I think it would be definitely worth at least a conversation saying how much of this could go away, and what could her time be shifted to?
Mm-hmm. Because time is money, and
It
so
is.
being able to save that time and focus on other things such as client acquisition or anything, whatever is pertaining to that business, to bring in more revenue instead of focusing on those mundane tasks that can be done with automation. That's awesome. So what do you specialize in with business automation? What are your specialties within business
So
automation?
there's a book by Michael Mikalowicz, I think is how you say his name. It's called Clockwork: Design Your Business to Run Itself. That's a great book for small businesses to own, and he divides the processes of business up into 4 categories: attract, convert, deliver, and collect. And basically everything can fit in there. You know, there's some admin things. Yeah. Attract, convert, deliver, and collect. So attract is where you bring in the new prospects. You're out on LinkedIn, or you're running ads, or you're on Facebook or whatever, finding the people who might hire you to do your business. Now, this is a very specialized realm of automation called marketing automation, and that is one part I don't do. There are guys that specialize in that.
That's me.
That's you. Okay. What I do is I do those other steps: convert, deliver, and collect. And it's kind of what we just talked about with the tree trimming service. Convert, turning those prospects into customers. So I do a lot of landing page work. So, we've already attracted the person. They're at the page making the decision. They put in their information. They hit submit. We're adding them to a database. Maybe we're adding them to an email list. Maybe we're looking up, their zip code to see what state and city they live in, so they don't have to type all that in. We can do all that in an automated fashion. But the process of converting people. The other thing is, so the next one is deliver. Now, if you run a tree trimming service, I obviously can't automate trimming trees. Yeah. But if you're delivering digital stuff, then you can automate that too. For example, a couple of years ago, I built a landing page process for a network marketing company. And what happened was these network marketers would come and they would fill out a form and they would pay. And in just a few seconds, their information was added to a landing page, and they were sent an email with a link of a customized landing page. Now, nobody had to code that. Nobody touched it. It was a completely automated process. They paid, and it was delivered all digitally. So that's an example where you can deliver digital goods. And then that last category is collect. We talked a little bit about this in that tree trimming example too, but this is really the, sending links with the right payment amounts, generating invoices, marking things paid, adding customers, kind of converting a lead into a customer in your CRM or your database, those kind of things. So that's really where I focus on. Kind of when somebody says, I want to be a customer, it's really from that point after, but I'm not in that point forward, which is the marketing automation.
Oh, you got the good job.
I got the fun stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Most definitely. I'll have my clients hire you, and I'm pointing the finger at him. I'm like, he's the conversion guy. But that's awesome. Just working together with the paid traffic that's coming in and being able to translate. And I want to ask you a little bit more about that, how you mentioned you make the leads into conversions, how you turn the leads into customers. For example, can you give me an example of what that may look like?
Well, coming to, once the marketing automation is done and we get them to a landing page, one of the things I've done over the years is landing page design and testing. And so making sure whether an agency is doing that for the company, or the company's doing it, or even if I do that, building the right landing page that converts people. And then, getting as much data as you need, but not overwhelming the person. For example, I've got a client that they do business by zip code. And so when we convert people there, we get a first and last name and an email and a zip code. Well, I can take a zip code and I can look up the city and the state and the area code and the congressional district. There is all kinds of data attached to a zip code that you don't have to ask the person. You just ask them their zip code and we can go look that up. And so it doesn't get their mailing address, which you may or may not need at that point in time. But there's things you can there's data points you can take that you can go look up and extrapolate more data about a person without them having to fill out a form on their phone or computer with all that information.
Awesome. Now, as far as email automation, I know that's kind of mixing in the marketing as well, but do you do like drip campaigns and things like that through email, or is it, I'm just trying to get an understanding of how deep
Sure.
automation goes.
Generally, what I focus on is getting the information from one platform to another. So, back to that e-commerce sale, getting the new customer on the right list that maybe corresponds with a category they purchased from or a particular product they purchased from, getting them on that list correctly. But as far as the automation within MailChimp or whatever the program is, typically I don't do that. That's something that's great for an agency to do or an internal team, depending on the size of the business. But as far as the sending the emails, the scheduling, that kind of thing, what I focus on is making sure the list they're working from is in real time, up to date, and accurate.
Okay. So your job is more organization, making sure everything is organized, and that's amazing. So
organizing the data movement and making sure it's accurate and in real time, which it really can be.
And that's important because if that's off, it'll throw everything off. And that's the little piece that a lot of people overlook in a lot of different things, such as analytics, Google Analytics, or not setting up their conversions properly in Google AdWords. And just having, you probably, like you mentioned, Zapier, which is a software that connects all the different platforms together. Being able to connect those platforms in order to capture the data and have a marketing person such as myself use that data to send out drip campaigns, email campaigns, or lookalike audiences through Facebook or whatever through that data. So if you're out there with a business, the organization is key. If that's off, everything is off. It's like being on the road and not having a map or nowadays a GPS. You set your destination with the conversion, and being able to navigate how to get there is how important it is to have that destination set. Without the destination, you're just driving around basically.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And you don't know if you're getting there or if you're not getting there.
Yeah. And so it's awesome to have someone like yourself being able to focus and specialize, and so a client will know that their conversions and landing page capturing is A+. So that's value in itself, and then saving time. So I'm seeing the value in it, man.
And kind of the icing on the cake once you get into this is then you can be able to create dashboards. So you just bring up a screen that it's in real time, and you can say, how did our leads do today? How did they do yesterday? How did they do last month? You can actually monitor that in real time. So that's when you really embrace automation, and you can get to where you can look at a dashboard and see how your business is running at any given time.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So Andy, man, where can people find you at online if they want to look you up, or if they need some automation for their business? Where can they find you at?
So they can find me at weblytica.com, and that's weblytica.com, or they can look me up on LinkedIn, Andy O'Neill.
Awesome. Andy O'Neill. And all his information will be in the show notes on Apple Podcasts. I hope you all leave a review for the show. That helps the show move up in the rankings and allow other people interested in marketing and branding to hear the content that we're putting out. And so, all right, Andy, I'm not going to hold you up, man. It's pretty cut and dry with this, man. If you want to save time, you want to save money, you want to know your conversions are in place perfectly and everything's good, talk to Andy. If you want to get traffic there, talk to me. I'll get some traffic there, but I'm going to blame Andy if something's up. All right. Thanks for coming on the show, Andy. It's nice.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Thanks. See you.